And now, for the first time in a generation, we're spending more on debt interest than on health care. That's money for bankers and bondholders rather than doctors and nurses.
Right.
You heard that right. We are now spending more to service the debt than we will on health care in this next federal budget. We'll cover that later in the video, but before that, let's listen to Pierre go after Justin Trudeau in Parliament. He's going to have some really good heat that he's bringing to Justin today, but with that out of the way, let's jump into the video.
A ninth consecutive deficit, with the budget still not balancing itself. And everything on which the Prime Minister spends gets worse and more costly. He is spent, and Canadians are broke. The country is broken. We have a doubling of housing costs. We have 8,000 people joining a Facebook group to study how they can get a meal out of a garbage can after food prices have gone up faster than at any time in a generation because of the carbon tax he's imposing on our food, a carbon tax that with the help of the NDP, he plans to quadruple to 61 cents a liter. And today, did he learn anything from these catastrophic failures? No. He doubles down on the same failure with $40 billion of new deficits, $40 billion of new spending. That's to say $2,400 for every family in new debt and new inflationary spending. And now, for the first time in a generation, we're spending more on debt interest than on health care. That's money for bankers and bondholders rather than doctors and nurses.
Right.
That's a pretty wild accusation by Pierre. So let's go ahead and dive into that further and take a look at what the information says within the federal budget. So I went ahead and pulled the budget analysis as completed by RBC, credible source. When we look at the bottom of the analysis within this chart, the second bottom category is public debt charges, aka the amount that we're paying to service the national debt just within the 24-25 budget. As we can see, it is registered at $54.1 billion with a B. To read further into this, we can see that RBC is also making the same claim that we are spending more on servicing the debt rather than healthcare spending. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Canadian government's website. We can see all the transfers, payments that the federal government will be making to the provinces. And the very top category, Canada Health Transfer, if we go to the far right end of the chart, we can see 24-25, 52 billion, which I'm not a mathematician, but 52 billion is smaller than 54 billion, so Pierre is 100% correct. We are now spending more on servicing the national debt than we are with healthcare in this country. Very scary, but let's go ahead and continue the video and listen to Pierre rip into Trudeau a bit more.
Right.
And the great example of how wonderful government can be, given after a tremendous theatrical pause, was the government's purchase of the Trans Mountain Pipeline. What would have happened if the government had just gotten out of the way, asked the finance minister. The answer is the thing would have got built with private money rather than $30 billion of taxpayer bailouts.
That's right.
In fact, a project the Prime Minister said would cost $5 billion is up to $30 billion. Wow. Mr. Speaker, that is 500% over budget. It is $2,000 in costs for every single Canadian family for a project the private sector was going to be building on its own, and the company that was going to build it bought out, taking the money to Texas, where they're building Texan pipelines with Canadian dollars. All of our X's are in Texas, Mr. Speaker. And then, to close it off, we got some of the most hair-raising ideological fervor from the minister, who says that what Canadians really need is a stronger government. Well, They have created a stronger government in order to make for weaker and more suffering people. This is not a government that gives people everything they want. It's a government that takes everything they have. But the good news, Mr. Speaker, is we want big Canadian citizens with a smaller and more efficient government where the state is servant and not master, where our priorities are clear: to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. And as soon as the NDP takes away its support from this Prime Minister, we will have a carbon tax election where the people will be able to make that decision for themselves in a country where they can earn powerful paychecks that buy affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods. The country that we all knew and still love, a country based on the common sense of the common people united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home.
Well, that's our video for today. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. It really helps me building this channel. With that out of the way, thanks again for joining. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.